So this is your homie Ablo West here with another critical episode for the fam. I am here to broadcast some critical vibes for you and expand your knowledge base. So I'm going to take a deep breath and then let's get into it. And remember, stick around to the end of the episode for the free legal game part of it. So this week, on the Vibe of the Week, I just wanted to talk about how, although we live in an oppressor's colony here in the United States, it tries to make you celebrate that same oppression and outright colonization while going on with your everyday life as a part of this capitalist nation. A prime example is Thanksgiving. Although it's often celebrated as a time of coming together with your family, we have to remember that it was also built on likely genocidal principles and stealing land from native and indigenous populations, which in 2023, I would have to say is something that does not need to continue. Now, it extends a little further, and we'll have to get into that later in the episode, but it's important to remember that you have to remain critical rather than a capitalist subject here in the United States and in many places that will hear this audio. That's really part of the goal of this podcast, part of this show, is to keep the critical vibes high and to make sure that I'm inspiring you beyond your surroundings to keep going, stay strong, and understand that the marathon continues. Like my great mentor always said, Nipsey Hussle the Great. And now moving on to kind of our second segment, the uplifting Black women, femmes, and intersectionality segment. I just want to make sure I give a big shout out to Erica Huggins the Great, one of the former members of the Black Panther Party, someone that inspired me greatly, taught me many things in the interviews that I had with her for my honors paper when I was a student at UC Davis, and someone that I hold in very high esteem. Really do hope that she's doing well. I'm sending her positive vibes during this time in the holiday season. And I'm just very thankful for her investment and support of me all this time. Now moving into just some of the current calls to action. And one of the big ones that we're going to be pushing here for a long time is Free Jay Burton. Free Jay Burton till it's backwards. So hashtag Free JAY BURTON. Jay Burton is someone that's wrongfully incarcerated now for over 30 years. Someone that I've had the pleasure of interviewing and someone that I view as a comrade in this struggle to create a better world. So we gotta demand his strategic release and the release of all political prisoners. And remember, that leads us to another one of our call to actions. Free Mumia. Free Mumia Abu-Jamal. Another freedom fighter wrongfully withheld in the oppressor's gulag here in America. Another brother that deserves freedom to be with his family and his community after all these years. Shout out to Africatown and their Break the Bank initiative, trying to shift money away from banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, and others. And let's remember to keep pushing Fire Chief Moore, end police associations, end qualified immunity, justice for John Horton, justice for Waukesha Wilson, justice for Trayvon Martin. Sending support and solidarity to Albert Corrado and the entire Corrado family as we continue to uplift justice for Melly Corrado, justice for Oscar Grant, justice for Elijah McClain, justice for Ahmaud Arbery, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for George Floyd, justice for Jordan Neely, justice for Patrick Warren Sr. Never forget Latasha Harlins. Never forget Ayanna Stanley Jones. Never forget Lil Bobby Hutton. Never forget Emmett Till. And I just want to celebrate the unapologetic blackness of the week. Shout out to Ka'Asia Burks. I know she's out there working hard. I also want to shout out Afeni Redmond out there in DC doing her work, Facts and Fire. Make sure you go chop it up. Show them some support on Instagram, across social media. If you're not, out there directly where they're out in the field working, those are two queen goddesses that are doing not only the Lord's work, but are doing the righteous people's work of our ancestors in the vein of Harriet Tubman and many other freedom fighters in real time. So shout out to both of them, Ka'Asia Burks and Afeni Redmond. And then I just want to make sure we remember that this is another segment for the ancestors. And this is focusing on the words of Fred Hampton Jr. when he absolutely described the truth of the need for more revolutionary appreciation. So thinking of the ancestors that live on in us, with us, and through us. And the first individual I like us all to remember is Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, the great reverend, I would say, and someone that I look up to every day for how not only they talk the talk, but how they walk the walk, how they put the people first, and often how they set a higher example even though they were not always perfect. And being a lifelong learner to expand. That old Rakim adage, constant elevation creates expansion. And Malcolm X was a true living epitome of that, stolen much too soon. So let us all continue to learn from the passion and growth of Minister Malcolm X's legacy. And now I'll just jump into the free legal game here. This is going to be a quick one. Something that I think everyone should know, as a licensed attorney here in California. One of the important parts of contract law is the statute of frauds. So that's a concept that when you're trying to prove that an agreement is enforceable in court, and really that's what a contract is. A contract is an enforceable agreement in court. To prove that any type of discussion or agreement or transaction was enforceable before a court, that makes certain conditions have to apply so that the court can determine whether that type of discussion raises to the level of being a contract. That's why there's something called the statute of frauds. Something important to just know before to get into the whole concept is that you want to understand that if anything that you are talking about is valued above $500, anything, that's your services or anything that you might be selling or trading, that's something that you need to put in writing so that the court can enforce it. Because if it's worth over $500 and then you go to the court and try to enforce it and you don't have a writing that talks about the parties, what's being exchanged, and other specifications, the court will not be able to enforce it. So if you are doing business for something over $500, whether that's goods, services, merchandise, animals, make sure that you put it in writing with enough specificity that a court can enforce the obligations required. So that's a quick law lesson on the statute of frauds and why if you have anything worth over $500 that you're might subject to a type of agreement, you need to put it in writing. So something to remember. And yeah, so this is a quick episode today, but just wanted to make sure that I kind of got it started here. I really appreciate everybody tuning in today with Life is Complex TV. And just remember, stay critical. Keep rising. Always remember, the higher you go, the harsher the winds blow. Keep well by any means necessary. Protect your energy. Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. Defund the police. Reimagine public safety. Justice in their names. Life is complex. Peace out, fam.